Yo, what's up, guys? It's your boy, the insane gang freak here, back at it again with another one. I don't even know what accent that is. I'm just rocking with it. So I already know this video is going to be a problem, so I'm going to try to get the disclaimers out of the way. I'm lying. I'm not. The reason why Nintendo Switch games are $80 is your fault. Let me explain. So stop me if you've heard this line before. So the Nintendo Switch having $80 games isn't just bad because of Nintendo. It's also bad because of what Sony and Microsoft are looking at. If they look and see that people are buying these $80 games, then they'll just follow suit, because it's not like businesses have your best hearted interest anyway. So the problem with this phrase is that it's a little disingenuous. See, at the end of the day, as consumers, the only thing we need to be concerned with is the product that you're offering worth the money that I'm investing, right? We're not required to care about the business side of things. But the point I'm going to try to make here is there's a narrative that's being pushed as if Nintendo was the instigator. I have no interest in whether or not you think $80 is a reasonable price for a video game, because you're justified either way you go. If you think it's worth the 80, if you're not think it's worth the 80. But the point that's been going around that isn't true is as if Nintendo was the one that instigated this, and this is the reason why this is going to happen because of what Nintendo has done. See, what consumers like to do sometimes is not acknowledge that they're the reason why things have turned into the way they are. Because as we like to talk about, we're in a capitalistic society, which means everything is dictated by where we spend our dollars at, right? If they don't make any money, then there's no justification for their product. Hence, they either change their ways as a business to make us more interested in their product, or they just die, right? So where did the $80 game come from? So if we look at gaming, right? We look at gaming up until I probably would say around the GameCube to Wii era, we were kind of hanging around this $50, $60 margin. So if we're going to play the game of whose fault it is for why the prices are starting to go up, why is it all of a sudden falling on Nintendo as if we didn't just get a recent price hike for all other games except for Nintendo, with the only exception of Nintendo's being Tears of the Kingdom? Oh, that's right. When the PS5 and Xbox One generations came out, you got that $10 hike. And if you're the one of those people who complained about those $70, obviously I'm not talking to you. But you have plenty of people out here acting like Nintendo will be the reason why the game industry keeps jumping up in price, as if there wasn't an entire generation currently out that did that, and people paid for it and were somehow surprised that that was going to up the ante. The thing you were afraid of, you already caused. That's the crazy part to me, right? And you could see it happening before the Switch 2 stuff came out. Remember, Nintendo hiked the price of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, to $70, and we were all like, what the fuck? But of course, we weren't surprised, because PlayStation and Xbox had already made this unspoken agreement that they were going to do the same shit. And Nintendo did what you think that Sony and Microsoft were going to do for Nintendo. They looked over and went, they just raised the price $10. Consumers don't like paying more money. Wow, they paid more money. I wonder if we could do it. Tears of the Kingdom, $70. And if I remember correctly, that game sold over 20 million. So needless to say, you're going to sit there and be like, well, so where did the 80 come from? Really? You don't know where the 80 came from? It wasn't like you just had 5 years of just straight $70 games that people were paying for. And people are going to make the argument, well, no, not everybody paid for them. I know not everyone paid for them. I know a lot of people waited until there were sales or got a game used, but there were plenty of people who bought these games at launch. And the way we know is because the first day sales for some of these titles were still insanely good, and in some cases better than their predecessors. So needless to say, people are willing to spend more money for games even if they don't want to. And when you do that, you prove the point to companies that they can justifiably upcharge. Even with all these complaints I'm hearing about the $80 games, if people still buy them, it doesn't fucking matter, right? Now, at the end of the day, if you don't want to spend $80 on a game, good. If you do want to spend $80 on a game, fine. But don't sit there and act like that this is a Nintendo specific problem. It's crazy to me, the narrative that gets pushed all of a sudden when the price hikes up, as if you didn't just contribute to the problem in the first place. Like, I'll give you another example. Remember how online we didn't pay for it, right? Well, actually, you don't, because when the Xbox 360, which I give Xbox the credit, they're the ones who actively push online gaming into the space. They may not have been the first to do it, but they are the first to popularize it. They were also the first company that said, you don't get free online. You have to pay for everything. Everything is locked behind a paywall that is online. And PlayStation offered what I still believe to be the best solution for online gaming for everyone. Here's a free option and here's an upgrade option. And that to me was perfect. It was like, hey, if you want to pay for a premium product, here you go. But if you want to just use basic online and get on the game every once in a while without the hindrance of a paywall, cool. And then we jumped to the PS4 generation where everybody was so excited that PlayStation had just owned Xbox and Nintendo with the Wii U and Xbox One respectively. No one noticed in that fine print that all of a sudden there was no longer a free option for online. We just straight to paid online all of a sudden. Nobody noticed it. Nobody complained. People paid for it. And then all of a sudden people were surprised when Nintendo was like, I think we're going to start charging for online, as if there weren't two other consoles that just proved that they could do it and make money from it. And if you look at their financials, they made money from it. So when people always make this argument about boycotting consoles as if you didn't contribute to the problem in itself. And here's my thing. At the end of the day, you are free to purchase and not to purchase what you like. But I don't like the narrative. This is really, and this is actually the core of the video. My whole point of this video is that people are acting like the Switch 2 is the reason for all this fuckery, as if there weren't two other console manufacturers that caused these problems beforehand, and everybody didn't care. And the ones who did care, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, you guys were not enough. There were too many of you who didn't give a fuck and still bought the online and still bought the $70 games. And so you've created this wave. So people are like, oh, but what, if Nintendo Switch 2 games are allowed to sell at 80, what will happen? You mean what happened when you allowed PlayStation 5 and Xbox One games to sell for 70 and acted like that was somehow okay? And then you're surprised that a company upped the ante? Whoa, fucking newsflash, baby. I imagine it's going to get a lot of hate, but I just want to make that my whole point is just simply about why in the hell are you mad at the Switch 2 as if you own a PlayStation or an Xbox or any console that was rocking a $70 game and you bought it. You can't get mad at Nintendo for upping the ante when you paid for the upping the ante probably not even a generation ago. Cause, effect. Cause, effect. I'm not saying I'm happy about $80 games. I'm not even saying I'm going to purchase $80 games. But I'm also not dumb enough to sit there and make an argument that doesn't make any sense. You can't be all of a sudden concerned about Nintendo's practices, but you weren't concerned when Sony and Microsoft were doing some fuck shit. The same thing where PlayStation, although they offer a good product, randomly up the price another $10 for all their tiers, and nobody said anything, that PSN prices just went up and you gained nothing. This is the type of shit that cracks me up. You can't sit here on one hand and try to act like you care about the consumer when you're the reason why the consumer is suffering in the first place. At least that's my thought process. But give me your thought process in the comment section below. I expect a lot of rage on this one. Don't care. It is what it is. If you think I'm wrong, video response. Well, actually, do we have video responses anymore? We don't. I'm so old. Woo. Anywho, life's a gameplay to win, and I will catch you guys later. I almost choked. Life's a gameplay to win, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace. Oh, what the fuck was that? Oh my God.